Welcome, everybody, to the Learned Alpha podcast. I'm Van.
I'm Derrick.
And we'd like to welcome Mr. Jason Hamilton to the podcast tonight. He's a husband, a dad, heavy equipment operator, a pilot, and a cowboy who rides his horse to the Dollar General. And he's also a hunter. He hunts off his horse with dogs and goes after hogs and stuff. So we'd like to welcome you to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Jason, who are you, and tell us all about yourself.
Well, I'm 38. I was born and raised right here in Jackson County. And, I'm just like everything he said there, but just, go-getter and like enjoying life and all that good stuff. But I was born and raised right here and went to school here and plan on staying here. So
Awesome.
But, yep.
How long have you been riding horses?
I've been on horses for all my life, I guess. My grandpa used to go get them. I don't know how he ended up with them. I don't want to know how he ended up with them. But he would come home with some different ones for sure, poker games or whatever it was. But he'd always, I'd get to be the guinea pig sometimes and see what he got. But I've been riding them a long time and still enjoy them. Still enjoy riding. So.
Do you have a favorite horse that you've had over the years?
Anyone that don't throw me off is a good one, But I think you always got that one or two you get hooked on and you get attached to. And right now it's Moonshine for me. It's a horse I've had since he was young, and when I first got him, he was crazy. I mean, you wouldn't believe him, and thought he was just gonna kill you. But he turned out to be the best thing you ever wanted to ride. So, but that's my favorite for now. So.
Is that something you always wanted to do as a young man, like reading cowboy books and riding?
No, I mean, I don't know. I just liked adventure. Anything that went fast and seemed like fun, I'd do it. So that's just, horses was there when I was there when they was around, and I got on them, and that's just how it went. So, but I took a pretty good break from them for a while. My teenage years, I guess I got away from them some. Now I'm kind of back with them. So, but they'll teach you a lot. The horse teach you a lot, and it's been a good experience having them around. So
That's a lot of hard work just to own horses, right?
it is. It's a lot of hard work, and it's but they teach me a lot. And my kids, I like them to be around them some too, and they learn a little lessons from the horse and stuff like that, and mostly what not to do. But that's the story of my life. So, but yep.
I've heard owning horses is like owning a boat. You just got to walk past it once a week and throw $100 at it.
I'm gonna say a boat's probably a little worse than a horse, but I am a marine mechanic as well. But a boat can be pretty expensive, But they say break out another 1,000 or something like that. But horse so far is no. I got 4 now, so when I had 1 or 2, it wasn't too bad, but 4, it's pretty expensive too. So.
And so not only that, like the interaction between you and them, but the interaction between the other horses themselves.
Oh yeah, they're herd animals. They're social creatures, and I mean, you pull one away, and they all get upset. They're all bonded. So, but yep.
That's a pretty cool thing to me. Like just looking at, it's like having dogs or cats, whatever. But we've had our dog since he was 7-8 weeks old, and I could talk to him like I'm talking to you right now, and he understands what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Are horses like that?
I don't think they understand us the way that we think they do sometimes, but they're definitely not. We underestimate them too. I mean, they're not dumb. I went on a ride last weekend, and I tried to take a shortcut. That's never a good idea. But when I was on this ride with this horse, Moonshine, actually, I got on a long straightaway, and we done went way off track. We was miles in at this point, and he finally seen a straightaway that was just, you couldn't see the end in sight. It was just a long straightaway, and that horse just started slowing down, and he almost gave up on me. I had to get off of him, and he was tired, and I about run him in the ground. He was tired, and I was like, but he could see that he could see a long ways, and he knew there wasn't no horses down there. There wasn't nobody. It was just another 5 miles we had to go. And I finally got back on him and started kind of tricking him and started turning him, like zigzagging him where he couldn't see down that long road. And I'd kind of neigh to him every once in a while, and he'd look around like he heard something, and it would give him. It finally got his motor back going, and we went on. But you know, we have our ways of communicating, I guess you'd say, but it's different. It's different than maybe a dog or something, I guess. But it gets through. It works. I speak coarse, I guess. I don't know.
Do you hire out your farrier work, or do you do it yourself?
No, I don't. I would like to, but I don't quite feel comfortable doing it yet. You know, I hire it out and try to stay away from that end, the business end of them, as much as I can. So,
I guess the behavior of the horse looking down that long road with no end, kind of like us sometimes. We need a little prod.
It was a lesson, man. It hit me hard, and I'm glad I remembered it. But I was like, you know, that horse. He was looking down that road. It was so far away. It was like, he'd give up, you know, he'd give up. And but as long as you was on the short roads that had the curves on them where you couldn't see very far, he would keep going. And it was a good moment for me. I learned something from him right there. So
Yeah, that's like Derrick says, kind of like life, you know. If you look at too much big picture stuff, you kind of get overwhelmed. But if you just focus like on the task at hand, it's a little bit easier to focus and take care of one step at a time than looking at the big picture, I guess.
At one point, I worked for a man named Don Johnson, not the Miami Vice one either.
I was about to say.
Yeah, on Market Street. I don't know if you ever remember him, but he was an old cranky man. He turned out to be one of my best friends. He was my mentor, if you will, one of them. I had a few in my life, but he taught me so much. Man, he was a genius, and I could tell you many stories about him. But he always, when I first started working on outboards, I wasn't the best at wiring. You know,
right.
I was pretty good at the mechanical side of things, but the wiring, I'd look underneath the bow of a dash of a boat, and it would just be a rat nest of wires, and I would just.
Rainbow spaghetti.
Whew, man, yeah, like he took a plate of spaghetti and dropped it on the floor, you know. And I thought, man, I used to get so upset, and I would want to gut the wire, take all the wires out that boat, and just rewire it. That's what I wanted to do. And he used to get so mad at me. He'd come out, he'd snatch me by. He was on Marine, you know. He'd come grab me by the collar, and he'd snatch me up, and he'd tell me one wire at a time. And that's you know, it stuck with me a long time, and. That's the way I approach life now. It's you look at a bow of a boat or any of the dash of a boat, and you see a big rat nest of wires, and you're like, "Whew, how am I going to fix that?" One wire at a time. That's the trick. So,
yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. You know, it's just like that horse. If it wasn't looking at the big rat nest, you know, and just focusing on one thing or another, it wasn't that big of a hill to climb.
Yep.
You know, and we've all had those moments where life puts it in your lap, and you're like, how am I going to do this? You know, but you have to kind of go down that checklist and just do one thing at a time.
Yeah, and I don't think there's really a set checklist either. You got your own checklist, you got yours, and I got mine. There's not a set of rules that applies for everybody. I don't think because you know. We all got a little bit different kind of rat nest, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know, I've made mine, a lot of it's through being a knothead. Some of it's just unfortunate, but it's a mix of things. But at the end of the day, you got to put your big boy pants on and go one wire at a time and just keep plucking at it until you get it, and you'll get it. But you can't get overwhelmed with it, you know.
That's why I think it's so cool for dudes to get together in whatever form of fellowship they choose. Like, you know, in school you have Sunday school classes that are just for the guys. There are other things that are outside of church that are just for the guys to get together that are positive and constructive. Because, like you said, we all have different checklists, and you know, just because I've lived differently, I might be able to solve a problem you have, or you might be able to solve a problem I have with something that's seems hard to me, but relatively easy to you because you've already learned the lesson.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's my opinion, but some of the most complex problems in this world, when it doesn't matter on what level you're talking here, but some of the most complex problems we have can have simple solutions.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes we overthink things. We try to force it. We try to this and that. But if we just take it easy, take a deep breath, slow down, you know, and pay attention, things will happen, you know.
So what got you into working on boats and wiring and all that kind of stuff?
Trying to think, I went to school for it. I went to junior college for it, and really liked it. I excelled at it, you know, just being a kid, growing up, hands-on, working on stuff. I mean, I used to make weed eaters for boat motors, and you know, I've kind of done all that. But I just enjoyed. It was an adventure. It wasn't no per se thing. It was just an adventure for me, and but the people I met along the way turned into be a good thing. And I met Mr. Don. I went to try to get a job after I come out of college, and of course nobody would hire me at the time. And
No experience?
yeah, no, and you know I thought I knew something 'cause I just come out of school, and I went down to his shop, and I told him, I said, he asked me, who are you? And I told him, and he said, well, where'd you get your training? I said, I just come out of college, you know. He said, well, you don't know anything. I said, crap. But I was persistent. I kept on. Every day I'd go down there, and every day, because I don't like being told no. Every day I'd go down there, and he was like, don't need nobody. Don't want no help. Don't need no help. And finally one day after, I don't know, man, a bunch. I mean, we've done there a lot of times. Finally one day he was having it out with a mechanic in the back, and I walked in, and I was sitting there, and the mechanic quit right there in front of me. And I looked at him, I said, need me today, don't you? And he said,
The time is
he
now.
said, "Yeah, give you a shot, don't mess it up." I said, okay. And we was best friends ever since. So.
It's usually those grumpy dudes, once you get past the outer shell, they're usually a plethora of information.
I learned a lot from that guy. Sure.
Well, and you also for yourself, because you were young, you just got out of college, you learned that you didn't give up.
Yeah, I've gotten every good thing in my life. I'm not gonna say every, but some big milestones in my life I got from persistence, from just hammering at it, you know, until I got the break I was looking for. Just nothing comes easy.
No.
Nothing. So
That's good, though. I mean, I was talking to you earlier and about recognizing when you have those milestones in your life and how you absorb it more. And then when you start to recognize those kind of checklists in your life and things that you may have not experienced before because you weren't in tune with it,
right.
it kind of gives you more and more motivation to keep going down that path and be better at recognizing that, so that you can not only help yourself out, your family out, your kids out, your wife out, but
it's something we struggle with. You know, I did, knowing if I'm doing the right thing, or because I mean I would have a good job, or I would have, you know, things that look good from the outside, looking in look pretty good. But are you happy? There's more to it, you know? And but now I can say I'm in the right place at the right time, doing what I'm supposed to do. And it's a good feeling when you recognize that, you realize you're headed in a good direction, you know. So
and you know, you're like us. We have wives, we have kids. Does your family see that in you, and like how you are around them all the time?
my kids is just as hard headed as I am, and which I'm glad on one hand, but it can be a task sometimes trying to get through to them. But yeah, they do, and they've been troopers. They've been good, because it's not always been a pretty road to get to here. And I think, you know, nowadays we got social media, and I'll try not to go down that rabbit hole, but you know, social media is just you can make yourself look whatever, like you want, however you want to make yourself look like. You know, but there's so much more to it than that. And what I mean is, you know, we post the pretty things, we post the happy days, but there's bad days, there's sad days, we're all people, but they're good, and they've been real supportive in everything I've done, and I think they do recognize it for the most part. So
Yeah, it's something my daughter does. My wife and I, if we're out on the boat and it's been a just gorgeous day and we're watching the sunset, you know, my wife will just look at my daughter and say, "What do we say?" And Z just goes, "Thank you, Jesus."
That's right.
yep.
You know, because she recognizes having bad days, you know, you really kind of want to start gravitating to and cherishing the good days, you know.
Oh yeah. That's for sure.
So with all the things that you like to do, and all the jobs that you've had and things that you've done, have you had a hard time at times finding balance between that and your family?
Absolutely. I'm a grinder, man. I'm a go-getter. I'm the one that's going to stay late. I'm the one that's going to work over. I'm the one that's, like y'all. But that's ultimately why I'm not. I took a break from flying. My flying career was about 17 years straight, and I was hardcore. I loved it, and but it was a sacrifice. I was going a lot, and I lived and breathed fishing. That was my job, and I took it home with me. I carried it with me everywhere, and it took a toll on us. And I had to finally get away from that, and it was a good thing. It was hard. It's hard to humble yourself and realize that a company will still go on without you.
That's right.
They will still roll on. I don't care how good you are. You are replaceable. And that's the way a company's designed to run, But I had to come to grips with some things, and it was a good thing for me to do. But yeah, it's been difficult being away from it that long. But
Because it's something you love to do.
oh yeah, I loved it, and I love flying airplanes. I love aviation, and I love the people. It was just good people. Made a lot of friends out there and a lot of family.
I
But
love seeing your pictures from flying over Ship
Yeah.
Island or Cat Island. Or
yeah, I've had some good ones. I've had some
Marsh.
not so good ones too, but I was too busy to take a picture. But yeah, it's been a while. I think around 15,000 hours out there, or something like that,
Wow.
give or take. And I don't know exactly, but it's pretty close to that. So
It's a lot of time in the sky, man.
yeah, a lot of time.
Did you see a UFO when you were flying?
I've seen a lot of UFOs.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
They say, pilots are more apt to seeing them because for a regular person being on the ground, you're looking up.
Well, out there where we fly is actually an MOA, it's a military training operation out there, and so you see all the experimental stuff that they're kicking out there, and you never know what you'll see something, and you go by like, what was that? But you don't tell people half the
Right.
time, like they won't believe me, so
Right.
I just let it go. But yeah, but years ago I was flying around helicopters, drones, without they didn't know windshields, all metal, just years ago, before everybody really
Knew what a drone
realized,
was.
yeah. So I just quit telling them all. But see some stuff.
That's wild.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
That's all right. So in finding that balance for like a young guy, we talked about this in just about every episode we've had. Like when I found the job that I wanted to do for the rest of my life, I was all in. Like you were talking about overtime and all that stuff. Finding that balance was hard for me too. So for like a young dad who's found something he really likes to do, what advice would you give him? For
Take it easy and trust your gut, and just enjoy where you're at right then. Enjoy where you're at in your life right then, because that changes from day to day. And I wrote a song. I write a lot of music. It's been out for me. I wrote a song called 30 Seconds in the Ink Pen, and that's what it's about. Is your life can change in 30 seconds in an ink pen. That's all it takes. One wrong move, one wrong signature, one wrong call. That's all it takes. And but enjoy the moment that you're in right then. Don't try to force it. Don't try to. When you get on a roll, I guess my younger days, I guess you'd say, I started getting momentum. I was doing good. I was working. I was making money. I was rolling, and I started trying to, just expand out, and I expanded too fast, if that makes sense. And I let people help me do that,
Right.
And they will gladly do that when you got momentum, and I think it's important for young guys to harness that, to reel it back in and realize it's your time, but it's not only your time, it's God's time. There's other components to that you have to recognize again and harness that in. I was just naive. I still am. I get aggravated at myself, but I trust everybody. I'm a trusting person. But just recognize that not everyone's out there looking out for your best interest. I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
I hate to say it, but you
that's
have
the truth,
you have to
man.
protect yourself.
Yeah.
You have to guard yourself, and you can't help anybody if you're down on your butt. You know, I want to help everybody I see. It doesn't matter who you are, I want to help you. But I've had to come to grips with, if I'm broke, I can't do nothing for you. If I'm mentally broken or financially broken, doesn't matter. I can't help you but so much. So taking care of yourself, staying healthy, staying focused is the best advice I can give someone.
That's good. So, along with all that stuff that comes with success and getting bigger and spreading out and stuff, I think most people don't realize when you do that, you're setting yourself up for your own expectation to continuously grow. And sometimes that doesn't happen. And then you have all these tentacles out there that you have to be aware of and pay for and pay other people to run. And
Yeah.
it just gets bigger and bigger. And then, like 2008, you know, when 2008 happened and the stock market crashed and people lost their homes, and you know, a lot of people at that time were doing pretty good, and then bam.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing when COVID happened. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing and doing good, and then bam, you couldn't get supplies, you couldn't get this, things that were outside of your control. And to be honest, I think that's when a lot of people, especially in America, realized that, yeah, I like my job, but I love my family, and just the sense of knowing that what we have is enough as long as we
That's right.
have each other.
Yeah, COVID was actually when things started changing for me in my flying career, because I had a good career. I mean, I loved the company I was with. There was nothing, it was just great. But when COVID hit, the kids got out of school for the COVID thing.
Right.
And I'm used to working during the summertime, and they was off, and in the wintertime when I was off, because I work seasonally, they was in school. So, but for once that year, come around the spring of the year, they was home for COVID, and I got to stay home with my daughter and my son, and I was home with them a lot more, and that really changed my perspective on my job, and you know, and I watched guys come and go. I've seen some of the best in the business. They would train me, some of the best guys in the business I was fortunate enough to be trained by, and when they left, it was unfortunate circumstances for several of them, but when they left, business never stopped.
Right.
It just kept going, and that's when I come to grips. So I'm like, I know I'm not going to be better than that dude. If I am, by not enough to matter. But these guys were great, and if business still carries on with them gone, then I'm just a little piece of the puzzle. So coming to grips with that, it's hard at first. Most guys want to think if I leave my job that this place is going to close the doors. They might, but if a well-run company, a well-run organization that's established good won't. They'll keep going. And
Right.
coming to grips with that, it's been a good thing for me. It's been humbling. It's been it's made me realize what is important in life. And that's the route I'm taking now. I'm spending more time in the right places with my kids and my wife and things like that. I'm not perfect. Well, I'm not perfect.
None
I can
of
tell
us
you more
are.
about what not to do than what to do. But life's a journey. This up to now has been a journey for me, and I'm along for the ride, trying to do what I need to do and do right.
I think a lot of dudes, when they find something they're really into like that, like you were talking about, not only do they think the place is going to shut down without them, they think that they're so good that they want to leave their mark in some way. And I think that's a healthy ambition to a certain degree. But then I think a boy becomes a man whenever he realizes that the mark you leave is actually your family, and it's not what you did at work.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to make investments in their retirement, their stocks, and everything else. But I think our greatest investments is our family. It's just the greatest investment.
The time that you put into your family.
Absolutely.
Because that's the one thing, no matter how good of a job you have, no matter how much money you make, you cannot buy that time.
That's right. And I will tell you, I've made good money. I've been fortunate to make some good money in my life, and I've also been broke. And I found out there's like 3 levels to broke. I don't know if y'all ever been there, but there's broke, There's broke and there's broke.
Yeah.
And I've been to broke, and but some of the best memories I have is when I was broke.
Yeah.
So money's a necessity. It is a necessity, and unfortunately, it's also the root of all evil. I believe that.
100%.
I've seen more tear up more families and friends than anything in this world that I mean, it's the root of all evil. But at the same time, I got lost on the question there, but what was we going with that?
Money.
Money. But yeah, but I've made good money and I've been broke, and I think it's important for people to realize that even though you're going through hard times, you can still find a kid doesn't care if you buy them a $2,000 go-kart or they don't care. They just want you to do something with them, right? They take them fishing, take them hunting, do whatever it is you do. But they don't care about the money like we think they do.
Right.
So I think that's important to recognize that too as a guy, and just don't concentrate so much on how much you're making or whatever. Just enjoy the time, enjoy the moment. So
That's good. So you recognized that working hard is good, but also you have to have that balance, like Derrick said, right?
yeah.
And so for some young man listening to us right now, what is something that you thought at one time was like a huge obstacle or a defeat in some way that you overcame, and now looking back at it, wasn't that big of a deal,
I've taken some pretty wrong roads in different times, and made some bad calls. But some's cost me a lot of money, some's cost me a lot of heartache, some's cost friends, some's cost family. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the obstacle is. It doesn't matter, if you get back to the fundamentals, everything's. I'm a man of principle. If you take, like I said, the most complex problems out there can be fixed one wire at a time, one simple solution. But you got to get back to the basics, and I think if you do that, there's nothing you can't overcome. There's nothing you can't do.
Yeah, I think young kids need to hear that. Young men need to hear that, because every one of us sitting here right now, and everybody we've talked to up to this point, and people that we would continue to talk to, have experienced the defeat, have experienced the loss, and Derrick said this a while back. You just gotta get up, put your clothes on, walk out the door, and 1 foot at a time.
Yeah, and something I learned the hard way too is there's a saying about it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but something about with the 4-year-old and the ice cream drops his ice cream. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he's crying, and somebody's like, "Oh, it's just ice cream." Well, that's the worst thing he's ever experienced. So that's the worst thing he knows.
Perspective.
And that's right, perspective. And I think that's very true. Our problems might be different, but nonetheless, your problems are just as important as mine. Maybe on different levels, but to you, it's just as severe,
Right.
So I think it's important to as people you can't compare apples and oranges. You just gotta understand everybody has problems. Everybody has to work through them problems. Nothing's given to us, man. We're not entitled to anything.
Nope.
So, and I think everybody sometimes, you want people to feel sorry for you. I think it's kind of natural. Sometimes you want to just bow your head, just duck your head a little bit and just feel bad for yourself. But at some point, you got to put your big boy pants on. You got to get up and you got to go. And I will say that another thing that I think is important is friends.
Right.
If you are who you hang out with, okay, you at some point, I know there's different rules apply there, but if you're hanging around 4 or 5 drug addicts, there's a good chance you're going to be a drug addict. If you're hanging around 4 or 5 thieves, there's a good chance you're going to be a thief. And I think it's important to surround yourself around people that's a good influence and that's got your back and can help you when you get down, because there's hard times out there. I promise you,
Right.
they're there. So, for me, I got a friend up in the Delta that he's always been there, wouldn't give up on me, wouldn't give up. And it finally paid off one day, and then I come out of there, and he's been a good friend to me, and I think that's important to have in your life, is good mentors, good friends, and trust your gut. I mean, if you see red flags over somebody, leave them alone.
Right.
Move on. You can't help everybody. You got to help yourself first in order to be able to be to help other people. So.
And speaking to that, you were saying that, complex problems are solved one thing at a time. I'm going to be honest with you. The most complex problems I ever faced are people. And sometimes that person was me,
Yeah.
blowing the issue out of proportion.
Yeah, I think the word accountability is something that you can read in the dictionary. And you could ask me 5 years ago what the word accountability means, and I could have told you. But I couldn't have told you.
Yeah.
I can tell you now.
Feel it.
Yeah.
When you say
I learned it the hard way.
Say it with your chest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for guys that want to be, when you want to be alpha, you want to be a leader, you have to accept accountability. You have to hold accountability. And, it's not always fun to do that, but you have to do it.
Yeah, I saw, David Goggins and Jacko. The thing that I always find fascinating with these guys that are just powerhouses in their own right, and they've done things that most men will never do, They always say the thing that they appreciate the most about their training and what they go through, whether it's jiu-jitsu or running, is the humbling nature of it.
Yeah. Embracing that. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, you can be the best at whatever, but if you're not humble and you don't recognize what you're putting out to other people, then you're really not. You don't really fully understand your capabilities.
And there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance too. I think it's important sometimes for, confidence is a good thing to have. You need confidence. But one time my boss told me, he says, Jason, you don't give yourself enough credit. You're doing a lot better than you think. So I said, well, I'll just give myself a little bit more credit. Well, I passed up confidence and went right straight to arrogance.
Right.
And I was like, I better go back the other way. And I did, but I had to get to that point, recognize it. And, but that's the thing. Confidence is good, but just taking accountability, just taking account for what that goes way back. People think, well, it's your fault. Well, it's your fault. Well, accountability goes deep. It goes to the day one. And if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say. But I think it's important for guys to just quit pointing fingers. Don't point, if you got a problem, don't point finger. Just accept your accept responsibility for what you've done to that point, and hold yourself accountable and move forward,
Yeah, and don't hold on to it. Recognize it and learn from it, and then push forward.
No, yeah, and one thing that I've been hitting on lately, somebody asked me what happened in my career, because there was a point where I was going to the top, I was doing good, I was right there at the big leagues, and then next thing you know, I'm off the map. And so one of them asked me, what happened? And I just couldn't answer him when he asked me that. I wasn't ready for the question. I didn't know how to explain myself, and I didn't know the word I was looking for.
Right.
And months later, I figured out the word. I figured it. The light bulb went off, and it was bitterness. I've become bitter.
Right.
I become bitter, and letting things manifest, just letting it go. It turned bitter is a tricky thing,
yeah.
man. It's poison. It's bad. And I'm struggling with it now. I mean, it sneaks its little head out there once in a while, but bitterness is bad. But I've learned that one of the greatest gifts you can receive is wisdom. But you cannot receive that gift of wisdom until you let go and forgive and let go of your bitterness and forgive people. Then you get to receive the wisdom and grow from the experience, if that makes sense. I may have jumped around on you a little bit, but
No.
but that's that's what I believe. So.
Funny you said that. I actually read a Bible study this morning that was talking about forgiveness, and it was specifically talking about before you go talk to the Lord, you're going to bring some offering to the Lord, that you set that down at the altar if you have any kind of unforgiveness in your heart, and you go get that taken care of first. Then you come back and take care of that prayer and that business, because then your heart's clear. Mm-hmm. And I think what you just said speaks to that.
Yeah, exactly. And I learned that one the hard way again. Yeah. It was like once I let go of things and I forgive, myself. You got to forgive yourself too sometimes. I forgive myself. I forgive people that I needed to, and then I receive the wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we were talking before we started the podcast in church Sunday, Brandon started a new series, and it's exactly what you said a minute ago about surrounding yourself with the right people. No matter how good you are in your own, it doesn't give due credit to your full potential, unlike having a good group of guys or your family around you to help be successful. When we said this last week, that behind every good man is a great woman. Mm-hmm. And it's true.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't care how strong you are, you cannot by yourself lift the weight of your family.
No, you can't. And I've been fortunate in that department. I did good. I always make the joke, I did a lot better than she did. She didn't do as good as I did.
We're all in that boat.
Yeah. But having that support and having, because at the end of the day, we all, yes, we want to be the best dads we can be and know all this and be there for everything. But at the end of the day, it's all about balance, right? You have to work. You have to have a job. You have to be a provider. But you have to find that balance, right? And a good woman helps that balance out. And I think that's important to have, And we've all made a mistake or two or bumped our head along the way, but again, go back to the fundamentals, basics. And
one wire at a time.
One wire at a time. That's it.
I like that.
I'm going to remember that.
Yep.
For sure.
I've remembered it a long time. He used to grab me by the collar, and I won't tell you the whole phrase, but I'll cut it down to that. And he would snatch me up by it, and he would look at me and tell me, and I remember it to this day, So.
Well, I have to say, like, for me, doing these podcasts, and I'm sure same for you too, man, like, you go into these things with an idea of who you're talking to and what you're going to ask. But the thing that I'm finding surprising is, just like you said, one wire at a time. That's such a great, I know it's small and it's simple, but it helped you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's something that'll, like you said, will stick with me now that I've heard it because it makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. I've given some people some great advice sometimes in a very crisis situation, and I have been the very one to not follow that advice whenever I had that same problem facing me.
Yeah.
And
well, you know what not to do. But that's been my situation a lot of times too. But people younger guys got to understand. There's, you're gonna make mistakes. If you're trying, if you're pushing, if you're driving to be successful. You got to push to be successful,
Right.
Unless you just, you got to push, you got to work, and you got to want it. And I've always wanted that. I've always pushed. And but there's things along the way. There's sacrifices, and you got to push, but you got to keep that balance there. And it's important to you're going to make mistakes, but you can't beat yourself up about it. You got to learn from it. I don't mind making a mistake. I've never minded making a mistake. Of course, whoever I was working for, whatever, they may have minded it, but my philosophy is I don't like making it twice. As long as I can make it once and I'm going to learn from it, I don't want to make it twice. And just understand that concept. If you make a mistake, that's fine. Don't ignore it. Don't run from it. Turn and face it, look at it, analyze, how did I make this mistake? What did I do to make it? How can I not make it again? And then move forward. And I think that's important too. So,
yeah, that's a huge part of it. What is the hardest part about being dad?
Being dad, practicing what you preach. It's pretty tough, but I haven't always been the dad that I wanted to be. I've fallen short of that. I fell short of that many times, and still do. But once I realized, again, recognizing my where I was doing wrong and things, I've made adjustments. Life's one adjustment. You constantly make when you're flying and stuff like that. When you're flying helicopters per se, one input affects another. So you're constantly making adjustments, and that's the same way being a dad. I think I tell my son sometimes, I say, look, this is my first go. You're my first go at this, so I can't always do it right. I'm not going to be right every time. I'm going to make mistakes. This is, I hate to call you the guinea pig, but I'm learning I'm learning too, and I think that's important to understand. And I always wanted to push my son really hard because I want him to be tough and I want him to be this and that. But, just take your time. Things will fall into place like they're supposed to. And don't push it too hard. But that's my biggest struggle, just being a dad.
So what do you enjoy the most about being a dad?
Everything. It's probably why I'm still alive, honestly. They've pulled me through some hard times, man. Hard times, and kept me out of a lot of bad stuff, and it's been good for me being a dad. So
I agree. Your kids, the way your kid looks at you, can change your mood like you never thought.
Oh yeah.
Just walking in and putting their hand on your shoulder.
Oh, yeah. And that's the little things. Like I said earlier, the 5-year-old she doesn't remember, or he doesn't remember the how much something cost, or they remember when you take them fishing, or they remember when you took them to the ball game, or whatever it is they like. But so if you don't have money, don't stress about that. Just enjoy the time, enjoy the moment.
And like from your wife's perspective, I mean, you're like you said, you're successful. You've done a lot of different things. What do you think she's most proud of you? And who is Jason today, I should say?
I don't know. I don't feel myself as being something to be real proud of, but because I've definitely bumped my head along the way. I mean,
we all have, man.
Nothing.
We all have.
Nothing been pretty about it. I try to encourage others and teach them or help them. Again, there's no set of rules, but I try to give them my experience and hope it helps them, betters them, and betters their life. And I think she's proud of that, and just making adjustments all the time, making adjustments. When I see something needs to be done, I try to make that adjustment and go from there.
You said that jokingly, about you don't feel like you're something to be proud of, but I think before you can love anybody else, you got to be able to love yourself too. And,
yeah.
And I think if we all look back at where we started and look at where we are today and all the ups and downs we had, if we add all that up, not sinful pride, but there's some definite things to be proud of.
And I definitely didn't mean it in that way. I meant it as I am proud of who I am, and I'm proud of what I've accomplished. But I mean it in a humble way.
Oh yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And I'm not better than the next guy beside me. Is what I mean by that. And but we all, like you said, we all have ups and downs. We all have good times, bad times. But I am proud of where I'm at today and how I got here. So
yeah, you said it perfectly. I just wanted to drive that point home for some people that may be out there, because a lot of guys out there do feel like they're not good enough, and they do feel like
that's one thing. You are worthy. They are worthy. We're worthy, and I think that's important for you're worthy, man. Everybody is, and it's important to keep that in the back of your mind.
Whether you believe it or not, you are important.
You are important. Yes, absolutely.
One wire at a time.
One wire at a time. So
that's gonna stick with me.
I think we got something there.
Yeah. Hey, have you written that song yet?
Not yet, but I will. I'll put it in the book. I got a book of them. I got a book of songs. I tell you, I got a song for every situation. I think I wrote every day for a long time. Half of them's not that good, but
Never know, man.
Yeah.
you never know. The 30 seconds in ink pen means a lot to me. And I've wrote several songs, but I wrote a poem the other day. It's called Label Made. And I won't take you down that rabbit hole, but just to hit on it real quick, it's, one thing about, to me, there's a gap in the system of being a commercial pilot. I have a CDLs, I have, I can fly, everything, and I have a lot of licenses, a lot of credentials. But if I go to the doctor and I ask for help, then I risk them credentials. I risk my family eating. I risk my career.
Right.
And there's a gap there to me that I think is difficult sometimes for leaders, guys that feel like, you worked your whole life to get here. And then everyone has problems. Again, mental health is a serious issue right now. It's always been a serious issue, but finally we're recognizing it. And, but it's hard to ask for help sometimes when you're in the position like I'm in. And I wrote that poem referring to that. It's called Label Made, because everybody's so fast to stick a label on you as soon as they diagnose you with something, and it really can mess you up. But I want to see, that's something I'm going to push for and find a way to bridge that gap for people to be able to ask for help and not have consequences. Because I always thought mental health was, like something bad, wrong, like you can never, get better. But it's not that way. It's mental health changes just like physical health changes, right?
Yep.
I mean, so it's important to recognize that too. And I don't, just because you're a doctor, just because you're a pilot, a jet pilot, it doesn't matter. They have problems too.
Yeah, they're human.
Exactly. But the gap there is hard to, you can't go ask for help or you'll lose your credentials.
That's because of the regulation involved
Right.
with it.
And that was the beginning. I've seen, started with good friend of mine got killed out there at work, and you see things, and I know y'all have seen the same thing, and you carry that with you every time you see something. You carry it, and it keeps stacking, and then next thing you know, you think, I might should get somebody to talk to somebody about this, but I can't, and then you bottle it up, and then you blow up one day, and there you go. But that's something I want to see get better, is that gap, bridging that gap from a commercial pilot can go ask for help and get some advice, or just talk to somebody without someone thinking he's crazy and pulling his license plate.
That could be for any profession, because
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking from my experience in the law enforcement business, you work real hard and real long hours to establish an image, and to have people trust you. And that's the number one thing that you carry into court with you when you testify is your rapport, your integrity, and all of that. And that's really all we got at the end of the day. And, a lot of people don't talk about getting help, and they should.
Right.
And we should normalize that for everybody, because that's how dudes become alcoholics.
Absolutely.
One drink at a time instead of dealing with the problem.
And I think it's important for guys to say it. You have to make a choice, and you have to say, all right, do I keep pushing my career and keep pushing and bottling this inside and holding it in, and because I'm gonna tell you, there's no good outcome to that.
Right.
There's probably not going to end well for anybody. And from speaking from my experience, it's best to nip things in the bud, stay on top of it, and one wire at a time. Again,
One wire at a
just
time.
keep at it. And if you need to talk to somebody, you need to go talk to them. Don't worry about your credentials; they'll be there.
Right.
It'll work out. But that's just something I did. I waited too long. I held things inside too much, and there's no good end to that. Thankfully, I was able to get through those times, the hard times, and things that I did bottle up. But it's still a process every day. Chipping away at it every day, and I think that's something I want to see get better. And I'm trying to find ways to doing that. And getting these guys more help when they need it and stuff. But don't be afraid to ask for help. My point.
Yeah, it goes back to what you said a minute ago about surrounding yourself with good people.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
if you have good men in your life who can take the 10 to 15 hour, however long it is, whatever you want to get off your chest, to call me and let it go, man.
Yep.
That's part of it. I can't tell you how many people that I used to be friends with that I'm not friends with now because they wouldn't even answer my phone call. They wouldn't return a text or a message or whatever. These are people I would have died for. Literally would have taken a bullet and died for them. And I don't hold that really against them.
No.
You know, but I try to surround myself with people who are more humble and more
You set the bar high.
have more humility in their life to understand that they themselves asked for help one time, or they themselves called me and I answered the phone and talked to them. You know, and birds of a feather flock together.
That's right. I lost my grandpa was and today it's his birthday, by the way. I lost him at 17, and he was my go-to. You know, he was my go-to, and also Don Johnson, the guy I told you about. They were my two guys that I really, you know, I had other people in my life too, but that was my two that helped me with a lot of things, and at that particular time, and because people come and go, right, in your life, people come and go. They're people that you think's always going to be there. They're not always going to be there, and you have to be good with that. You have to get the good from them, you know, take the good off what you learn and discard the bad, and better yourself. But my grandpa and Don was two go-to guys for me, and I lost my grandpa one day, and I lost Don 4 weeks later. So my world just went to a downward spiral, and I didn't have nobody to really. That outlet was gone for me, and but it takes time to get it, everything figured out. Navigating in this world is tough around this nowadays. It's very difficult.
Well, just the fact that you're aware of it and that you're dealing with it and that you're talking about it speaks volumes about your strength as a man. And I don't know if anybody's told you. I just met you today, but I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Like
Facts.
and
It's a process, though. It didn't happen overnight. You know, it's a process, and I think it's important for other guys to realize. You know, it takes time. It takes time. But if you do it one wire at a time, if you chip away and don't get overwhelmed, it'll work out.
And the fact that they had that big of a role in your life, you've talked about them quite a bit tonight. And, you know, that's that honor. That's good, man.
Yeah.
And that's the mark that they left. That's their measure.
They left one for sure.
Well, Jason, man, we appreciate you so much, man.
Pleasure.
Can't thank you enough for coming and talking with us tonight. And we always, like I said, I always learn something, you know. Well, with Trey last week, you know, when he said that you could walk out the door and then be the last time. And there's gonna be a last time.
There is.
And the quicker you become aware as a man of that, and you take life one wire at a time, you can straighten out relatively quick, you know.
Yep.
And we appreciate you so much,
Thank
man.
y'all for having me.
It's great to meet you.
Pleasure.
All right. You guys, please like and subscribe. We appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you.